Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. You have made it to the midpoint of the week. Congratulations. Give yourself a pat on the back. And if you are in Florida, give yourself, some grace. Be safe. Hunker down as Hurricane Ian is about to be a Category 5. And it's gonna hit. It's gonna hit hard. Probably stall out over southern Florida, southwestern Florida, Tampa, and area south. So keep them in your hearts and your minds as they get ready to go through what could be one of the strongest storms that has hit Florida in over 100 years. NBA training camp has opened up after media days. Got plenty to look forward to as we get ready for the first preseason game, which is this Friday, 6 a.m. NBA Japan hosting the Golden State Warriors and Washington Wizards. So we're just 2 days away. Actually 1 day and a wake up. Can't wait. 10 p.m. There's a Maccabi game also as well. Getting ready to launch into season 2 of Hoop Spaces here on Twitter Spaces. We are brought to you by slamgoods.com. That is one of the best marketplaces you can go if you are a basketball fan. You can get your apparel and accessories, or you can get the digital subscription to Slam Magazine. Use promo code HoopSpaces to get 15% off. Also brought to you and powered by Audiolabs.io. They're going to help us out. They already help us out by producing our YouTube content, and they will be producing the Hoop Spaces community podcast, which this show is essentially turning into. All right. Shout out to everybody who's made any part of their day at any time part of Hoop Spaces. We appreciate it. Each and every one of us. Who is us? Well, we're a series of content creators, and we appreciate your support. So shout out to all of you. And if you've ever missed the show, go ahead and head over to YouTube and Google or search in the YouTube search Hoop Spaces, hashtag Hoop Spaces, and you'll be taken right to our page. You'll also see a couple of our other creators who already have videos up there as well. All right. It's going to be almost a similar solo show, kind of like The Herd, ladies and gentlemen. Colin Cowherd of Fox Radio, ESPN Radio fame. Lots to get to. We'll go ahead and open up with Hurricane Ian. I'm glued to the TV, by the way. If you're not totally understand, but I have a personal connection to hurricanes ever since I responded to Hurricane Katrina, and I have been watching this storm system for the better part of 6 days now. Absolutely worried that it was going to stall out over the Gulf of Mexico and hit Southwest Florida, and here we are. So, if you do know anybody in Florida, understand like they're probably going to lose power and cell service. Just keep them in the thoughts and prayers. If you happen to be listening to us in Florida and you're not able to get out, our thoughts and prayers are with you. Stay safe, stay away from windows, try to stay central into your home. Make sure you have water. That will be a little bit more important than food. And there you go. If you have any thoughts or concerns and you want to share them, by all means, please raise your hand and you can come on up and share it. We already have one person up here, and I'm assuming this is going to be Daniel R. Test, one half of the 9450 Women's Basketball Podcast with K. Lou. Good morning, DA. How you doing?
Man, what's good, brother? Everybody, what's going on? How y'all doing? Hope y'all good. Sure, I'm in the path of the hurricane myself, so you know what I mean. It'll be weekend by the time it gets here on Friday. It'll be like a category 2, but still kind of intense or whatever. So yeah, you right. Like I already hunkered down with the water. I brought like what 7, 8 packs of water, some for drinking, some for freezing, just in case if the power goes out and I need like refrigeration and stuff. So just trying to err on the side of caution because it happened to me in 2019 with Hurricane Dorian hit as a category 3 and we wrote it out. And yeah, it's no joke, man. It's no joke. In South Carolina, is they call it the low country because it's like way below sea level. I think it's lower than New Orleans and stuff. And like it do flood crazy. So definitely, you know, hoping that everybody in this path of this hurricane, is really safe and everything. So that's all I gotta say. And the crazy thing is the Philadelphia 76ers are out here in Charleston, South Carolina too. for their training camp. So wonder how that's going to go with them and everything. But other than that, I'm good. I hope you good, Chris, wherever you at, and everybody else too on the stage and stuff. Hope y'all good.
Yeah, which is really weird that they chose Charleston. They used to have a deal. I forget. I think it was with St. Joe's, in Philly, and then they also had a deal temporarily with Temple, and that kind of went away.
I
um,
think I think the Charleston thing was more so because they want to talk about like the history of slavery and stuff that's down here. Um, and from my experiences being down here for 3 years, you can see it. Not I'm not even talking about the people, but you can tell like when you go into a place, it used to be probably like an old war bunker or something like that that they turned into like a pub. You can see like they have the old gun racks on the wall that they didn't tear down and stuff like that. And then even with the old, everything is like named after a plantation, like whether it's a house subdivision or apartment complex, you know, streets or whatever, and like and you can really see it, you can feel it. They got these things called the landings or whatever. It's like big old ports, and you can tell like how it is that when slaves was brought up here, like you can see like they still preserved it. It's a beautiful city, but the energy is weird. So I think that what Coach Doc Rivers is doing is trying to give these players some of that, some history on what's going on, in this with this country and how it was built and stuff. But I think everybody should take a visit down here to Charleston and just see it for yourself. Just see it for yourself. I don't even know why I'm down here too, brother. I don't know.
well, you know what? I said the same thing about Oxford, Mississippi, because I had family who went to Ole Miss, and I went and caught a football game. And it's the same thing. Like everything is named after a plantation because the plantation was named after the prominent families of the original founders or settlers of that the colony, right? And there is an immense amount of history. And in Florida too, right now, a couple of the historical sites that were landing ports for the slave trade are they just spruced up as well because they're trying to bring awareness, and that's part of the well, we don't need to get that in that that far into politics. There's just understand there's two worlds, people. That's all we need to understand. And there's a third one getting ready to launch on the 30th, which is this Friday, 6 a.m. As the NBA opens up its preseason action with NBA Japan, Golden State, and Washington. I want to get you guys caught up on some news and notes as we had NBA Media Day and the opening of training camp. I'll get some tweets up here in the Jumbotron so we can go ahead and get ready to start talking about it. And if you already have your questions or your thoughts or comments, raise your hand. And if you can't come up, by all means, there's a chat box in the bottom right. I'll be getting ready to hop in there in about 10 minutes to start saying good morning. Put your thoughts down there. The biggest news that I picked up out of all of the media days was the earnest and honesty of Kevin Durant and the mind-boggling decision-making process of Kyrie Irving that's coming out of Brooklyn. So Kyrie Irving says that his vaccine decision cost him a 4-year, $187 million contract extension with the Brooklyn Nets. And Kevin Durant explained why he requested a trade. And it's awesome that you can have this type of brevity and honesty from your star players, right? Like we kind of want that. That's like the access issue. So, like with Kevin Durant speaking about the trade request, like it was rather succinct and matter of fact. There's a lot of uncertainty around our team last year. I committed to this organization for 4 years last summer with the idea that we were going to play with that group that we kind of went on that little run in the second round. Remember, they lost because of the big toe. I felt like another year of that, of us being healthy, was something we were building towards the future. Then, as the season went on, so he laid down the groundwork. Hey, this is why I signed this extension. Everything was great. But then, as we started to play, what happened? Injuries, uncertainty, and then doubt started seeping in. But like, understand, he's saying it without saying it. The uncertainty was centered around Kyrie Irving, right? The doubt was centered around Steve Nash, right? And then you look at the totality of it. I don't think it was doubt. I think he completely lost faith. And I think that's what led him to think that Brooklyn was not a viable situation to contend for a championship, which let us understand that's one, why he went to Brooklyn, and two, at this stage of his career, all he cares about. All right, so we're going to open up with some Brooklyn Nets. We got Pod Thorne. He's up here. Pod, good morning. What are your thoughts as Brooklyn opens up training camp and your reaction for Media Day?
Good morning, fam. Long time no speak. Uh, love the way this medium has proliferated and become a big part of basketball. I just got to correct you on that. You got to read the whole quote, and I want to share with you some numbers that are important for you to understand the whole picture of what you just said. In their first year under Nash, the Nets were first in the NBA in offensive rate, first in true shooting, fifth in free throws per field goal attempt, eighth in assist, ninth in three-point attempt rate. And offensive efficiency wise, under Nash, they posted a record number, probably the greatest offense in the history of basketball. And then it all fell apart. Injury, bad luck, whatever it is. Now go to to KD's quotes. The way we're quoting him, the way they were quoted misses a lot of the points he made, and therein misses a lot of the context of what he was saying. Hold on, let me pull it up because I don't want to put words in KD's mouth. Hopefully, I can find it fast enough. but
Well, the issue with reading the whole quote is like you're reading an entire page, and I wasn't trying to
no,
read.
it's not. It's really short, and in the way that I saw it, right, based off of what he said, and he called it my whole thing. I want everybody to be held accountable for their habits as a player every day. And a lot of stuff was getting swept under the rug because we're injured or guys weren't around. When the Nets were in first place in the end of December, beginning of January, guys got injured, guys weren't around, and we swept things under the rug and we bought back Kyrie. Durant said we could have gone through that more focused on the guys that were here. Let me read that to you again, Chris. We could have fought through that more and focused on the guys that were here. That is an important piece of it. And a lot of times what we do as fans, as in and not just as fans, as human beings, is we hear the things we want to hear, and then we completely blot out the things that we don't like. Kyrie came in and said on the came on to his turn, and he basically said, I opted into my contract, and then all of a sudden KD wanted to be traded. That was awkward. And the awkwardness is something that they're getting through. This Nets thing does not work like without KD being bought in. You guys know I love KD. I think he's the greatest player to ever play in New York City. And all of our title hopes are on him. But he has to get his mind right. Sean Mark doesn't call him a player on his team. He called him a partner. There's a lot of bending over basically happening here to call a player a partner. Well, if that partnership doesn't work, all of them will be fired in February. They will fire Marks does not have a contract. And if Marks goes, Nash goes. And they'll do it the right way. They'll hire a GM and the GM will hire his coach. This has to work. This has to work coming out of training camp. There's not a lot of wiggle room, and Joe Tsai has an itchy trigger finger. He fires people. The only reason why Steve Nash is not fired is because within those halls, within that HSS training center, they know why last year went wrong. Whether you agree with it or think or like it, it's what they believe. And if you look at their actions, all the words I said could be whatever, could be bluster, could be whatever. But if you look at the actions of the Nets organization and the people that were held accountable, they believe that the vaccine mandate crushed their hopes, their title hopes last year. And whether you like that or not like it, accept what they're saying.
The issue is when you say it, the only main factor of the mandate was one person, right? Like that's the problem. You can read every quote. The issue is when you put what one person said and did beside what somebody is saying in retrospect, it doesn't work because it only highlights what caused the situation. And it was one person's decision who I said, hey, if you don't want to get it, okay. But you
And
gotta
that's
follow the
fine.
rules.
But the team has to deal with the repercussions of that. Every action has a reaction, and the reaction was the Nets had the team with the least amount of time playing together. 115 minutes together as a team. They only met these guys. Some of these guys
But
only met in
again,
March.
the
They
cause,
weren't. Say it again.
cause of that situation was one player.
Correct. And that one player didn't get a full max. And he said it for himself. The max was on the table. Because I didn't want to get vaccinated, they took the contract off the table. Pay attention to the actions, Chris. Honestly, the thing I don't like about spaces is that it leads to groupthink. And I've heard you talk really eloquently about groupthink before. I'm a fan even when I don't even come up and talk. But I've heard you talk about it in other scenarios, and you're really smart, Chris, which is why I'm a big fan of yours. A lot of groupthink is synthesized through spaces, and we start making up shit. Let's just keep it simple. If Kyrie doesn't get hurt, we might 2 years ago we might have been champions. If Kyrie just plays, we might have been champions last year. We have to recognize how important he is to us. And if we can have normalcy, just normalcy. I'm not asking for spectacular leadership and dynamic. If we just have normalcy, the talent on this team is so good that we should fulfill our potential, at least. And we can't ignore what went wrong just because it doesn't feel good. We have to be honest, especially looking at it in retrospect, and listen to the words coming out KD's mouth.
Let me get gifted in here from the locker room, NBA film spaces. You can catch them breaking down individual players and games. They're coming off of a great Joel Embiid breakdown space with Gifted Blade and Derek Stein running the two-man team. Gifted, your thoughts opening up training camp, talking Nets. What do you got?
Yeah, and sidebar, that space is actually going to take place tonight at 7 o'clock. We can't wait to all the way break down that thread. That was fun. As far as the Brooklyn Nets are concerned, I've said this multiple times. I think Paz probably heard me say them. Like, to me, the Nets are the biggest boom or bust team in the NBA. I really feel that way because ultimately, like, the question for me is the five position with Ben Simmons. I hear many people say, well, he's 6'10. You can possibly run him at the five. But the way that I look at it is specifically you would want to have a actual center being the five so Ben wouldn't have to be the back line. He could just fully be the POA and the big could just play drop or whatever that would be. To me, like they need to address the front court situation because in my estimation, if you're gonna have Claxton and Ben, there's no way both of them can close games. And even if they're starting together, like people put so much pressure on Ben to have to shoot threes, and I really think that that's just not bright. Ben's issue to me was never 3-point shooting in any capacity. It was his offensive aggression to just get to the basket and try to score. To me, I would be more concerned about his free throw shooting, because if you're gonna try to play Ben in late game scenarios and he cannot knock down free throws, not only can you not play him with Claxton, but then your offense becomes a big, big question mark. So to me, that's the main thing with them. I still think that this is a team that can still play really well. I think Kyrie is going to come out super motivated because obviously he needs a contract extension beyond this year. I think Kevin Durant is also going to play well as well, considering how last season went. I think he's been the most consistent rock for the Nets, and regardless if he wants to be there or not, I think for his personal reputation as a player, he's going to put all that to the side and really try to hoop. The question is, the ceiling of this team is really dependent on what Ben Simmons looks like and the front court that they develop through trade or whatever it is as the season progresses, in my mind.
All right, I can understand that personally. I'm gonna put the video of Ben Simmons' interview up here. I'm high on the Nets. I think I haven't seen Ben Simmons smile and laugh the way he's done in the past 2 weeks, being more visible since maybe his second year in the league. So when we look at Ben Simmons, we have to understand that this is a person who needs to be able to feel comfortable within himself and within his environment to really play well. And I think he's going to be fine. And I don't think Claxton closes in the fourth. I think Ben closes in the fourth, and I think they probably put 4 shooters out there. And it's something that Ben is going to have to accept that he needs to do unless he shoots the ball. Micah, you're up. What are your thoughts? And then we'll let Pod Thorne come back with the reaction real quick.
Hey, Chris, how's everybody doing? So, let's start off. Man, all those mind-blowing offensive numbers, but can't get a stop to save their lives. What about that doesn't sound like a D'Antoni thing? But, and that's basically how I'm going to look at the Nets until I see something different. Because, yes, they got a bunch of great offensive players, but outside of Ben, who's getting a stop on that team? And that's what I see a bunch of these top-level guys, KD, LeBron now, they try to build their teams with stuff that sounds sexy, with stars that have never been defenders, but all of a sudden at year 12, now they're going to defend. It doesn't work. That side of the ball will always matter. It's what will always, at the end of the day, that's what wins basketball games, especially when you get to the highest level. If you're not committing to that side of the ball, we're going to see the same thing that we've always seen over, last 75 years, we're being honest. Like my team, Dallas Mavericks, we had the highest offensive rating in the history of the NBA and got packed up in the first round. Minnesota Timberwolves had the highest offensive rating last year, got packed up in the first round. If you don't commit to that side of the ball, you're looking second round at best, unless something shaky happens. You might get to the conference finals, and then you're going to get exposed. The side of the ball is always going to matter, and until they address that and get a coach that actually commits to that side of the ball and puts out actual schemes, then you're just going to be like every D'Antoni team that we've ever seen. That's how I felt like Nats was going to coach that team, because you coach the way you learn, and that's pretty much who he was under for a long part of his career. So there's always a ceiling unless you commit to that side of the ball. And that's my thoughts.
All right. Well, we understand by you saying defense about 5 times that you're pretty heavy on the defensive side of the ball. We'll get to the Mavericks a little bit later because they too kind of have the same type of issues here in regards to committing on defense, right? All right. The whole idea about the D'Antoni offense, I think a lot of people have to understand that the offense that D'Antoni is famous for isn't even really his offense. That offense was around before D'Antoni. It's going to be around after D'Antoni's gone. Like he brought a moniker with it called 7 seconds or less. But that offense has been around, and you can go back to like Loyola Marymount, which was almost, I think, 20 years before 7 seconds or less came out. So there you go. Like you're always going to need defense because you're always going to need to stop, right? We understand that. The difference is when you have offensive talent of the level of Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving, is your defense just good enough because you're banking on their offense being better, right? And that's what makes this great, is because you really don't know until you get a matchup. And that's why that Brooklyn Nets Milwaukee Bucks matchup was arguably the best matchup of the entire playoffs, right? Where Kevin Durant was literally 1 inch away from winning. All right, Pod already bounced out. We will move next then to KP. We'll let Gifted come back if he's got another thought he wants to add in here, and then we've got where Brooklyn at. Thank you, everybody, for popping in. After this, we're going to move over to the next team, and I'm going to go ahead and let Gifted decide what team he wants to onto after Malika gets her word in. KP, good morning. How you doing?
Thank you, Christopher. Appreciate you, brother, for letting me up and speaking to in your space here. Riding with you for a year now, and I got the Nets losing in the second round. They got a cute little media day. Everyone feels happy. KD don't want to take no responsibility. Kyrie's blaming everyone but himself. Ben Simmons is smiling, look happy. Steve Nash, he just looks like he's there. And Sean Marks looks like he's in control. So all of those things considered, I think second round is the best for them. I'm enjoying Media Day because the best team, best player in the world is in Tokyo right now. Excited to see him play Friday morning. It's going to be a hard one, but got to sacrifice for your team, Chris. Got to sacrifice for your team. I will say this.
When did you become a Beal fan?
What you say?
When did you become a Bradley Beal fan?
When he decided to take that contract, and that showed me that he's a real never going to winner. I'm never call him a loser, but he's decidedly a never going to winner. We're going to say this one last time, people. The hashtag KP was right. ... Again, it's a worldwide phenomenon. Been on this app for about a year. This lovely Spaces app. Not app, but extension. Leave me alone if you think I'm wrong. My brother Bonkai woke up and tried to quote tweet me about something that I said. But the funny thing is, he never said I was wrong. That's the funny thing, people. I'm always right. It's hard to explain. It's hard to understand. But just like E equals MC squared, KP was right. ... Again.
All right. As I'm watching live footage of the storm. Man, it's brutal. Yeah.
Anyone out there, anyone's family, stay safe. If you can leave, please. If you're listening to this, please be safe.
Yeah, there's no more leaving. If you are listening, you are no longer able to leave out of the path of the storm. And the officials there, local and federal officials, are saying hunker down and ride it out. All right, we got where Brooklyn at. We got Malika up next. We've got several teams up top. We've got the Sacramento Kings, the New Orleans Pelicans, Memphis Grizzlies, Toronto Raptors, Clippers, Celtics. So many teams that we're going to be able to talk about. Gifted is going to be up after Malika to tell us which team we're going to move on to next. Where Brooklyn at? Brooklyn is in New York. How you doing?
What's going on, Chris? Thank you so much for allowing me up. I just wanted to address two things real quick. The center position, I forgot who said it. We also have Day Day as well to help Nick. and Ben will play the 5 at some, in some plays, in some instances, and we also got twin as well, Mokeith Morris. And as far as defense, also, we have Joey Buckets is back for the length, to be a disruptor. We also have Royce O'Neal. We brought in for defense, and Clax is not a slack either on defense. So I think we will be okay. I think we addressed it. During the season, we probably will address a little bit more, but I have lots of faith in our team this year. We definitely look better than we did last year. So I just wanted to address the defense and also the center position as well, because people forget about Day'Ron Sharp. So thanks, Chris.
Yeah, I like Day'Ron. I wish he had and the only reason why he didn't was injuries. I wish he had a full year at G League, kind of like Kai Jones did in Charlotte. Like Kai Jones was phenomenal. He's like 20, 10, and 2 blocks. And I think if Day had gone to the G League, he probably would have been 2014. He's not a great rim protector, but he does do well defending in space in the paint. Question though, when you were watching Media Day, what were you drinking when Steve Nash in a straight face said that Markieff Morris is a 5? Like, let's be honest, Markieff Morris is not a 5. Like we saw,
not at all. That was one of the funniest things. No,
man,
here's a 4.
Malika Walker, host of the Rewind, and if you actually haven't tested it out, like you got to come in here. We're basketball fans for a reason, and the reason, believe it or not, whether you agree with this or not, is your experience with it, right? Like that's why you're a fan. You experienced it, and you became emotionally attached to it. Stop like just always living in the now. We could also look back in the past, and that's what the Rewind allows us to do. It's a phenomenal show where we can celebrate, everything that is basketball and even stuff that's not basketball from the past, working on the way up. Phenomenal ABA conversations, a great look back at the great Laker years of Phil, Shaq, and Kobe and Lakers in the 80s. So if you really do like basketball and you haven't necessarily experienced what we have, come through the Rewind and check it out and get in there on the conversation. Malika, good morning. Your favorite team disappointed you last year. They look like they're getting healthy, except for maybe Seth Curry and TJ Warren to open up the preseason. What are your thoughts? What did you see in Media Day, and what are you looking forward to?
I mean, what stuck out to me from Media Day is KD. Like looking at KD, and I appreciated his view, his honesty, his point of view. I mean, I have a mixed reaction to it. I think part of the mixed reaction for me is KD is not a vocal leader. You know what I mean? Um, and he doesn't take that responsibility to me. Because he doesn't see, like he leads by example. But I feel like during the press conference, like if he's not like one of the things he mentioned, like if people were waiting for me to come back, he said something like that, and we should have been able to move the train, like be able to move and be able to do the things we can do without, you're KD, like you're not being in the lineup. In addition to everything, Kyrie not being in the lineup, for most of last season. Yeah, the lineup's going to take a humongous hit because of that. So part of it was listening to him. It was like, okay, you want a team not to be fully relying on you. I get that, but do you at least see like a player like you being out the lineup for an extended period of time is going to result in some losses? Like I just listening to him for some of it, I appreciated the honesty, what his frustration was. But some of that frustration was Kyrie and I supported Kyrie with the vaccine mandate, but the impact on the team was catastrophic. Like having him out of the lineup the full year was a tremendous hit. And so when Kyrie basically was like, it was a shock to him, I was like, I'm concerned that they haven't had these conversations as quote unquote best friends. Where's the conversation? Y'all still haven't talked about this? So that was that's something I peeped because they're supposed to be best friends, but that conversation is a big one. So they need to get on the same accord. I like Ben's energy this year. We'll see how he does in game and how he plays, with our team. I mean, Seth will be there eventually. We got Joe Harris this year. I love our team, but the cohesiveness, I want, I need KD and Kyrie on the same page. And from that press conference, I, you know, I don't know. That's where I'm at. And Steve Nash, I see his days are numbered if he doesn't get results. And yeah, I love my team, but I felt the energy of KD, and I was like, if he's not fully bought in, or if he's not fully in this, we're gonna have an issue. But he's at the end of his career, so he's gonna be in. But him and Kyrie need to be on the same page, or we're gonna have some issues. That's
Yeah,
what I got out of it.
I agree with you. I think KD has been told in no uncertain terms that if there's any faltering around Christmas time, um, that Steve Nash is gone, right? Like that seemed to be even at the very beginning, um, a unique relationship that was destined to not work out, right? Like it just was destined not to work out. Whatever it is, I don't think Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving have given Steve Nash the same type of respect that they would have, let's say, Monty Williams. Um, let's see. Got a couple more people down below. Want to shout out to everybody who just joined in. If you could do us the favor at the very beginning, the show card is up there. If you can like and retweet that, so we can go ahead and show the people that we are getting ready to open up full time Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, every day, covering the best sport on the planet, in my opinion. If it's not your opinion, that's fine. You probably like French fries and ketchup. It's no skin off my back. KP, hop in here, and then we're gonna move down to gifted, so you can pick the next team.
I think I was gonna say when Malika mentioned KD's media, him and DeAndre Ayton have the same energy. They don't want to be there. They just saying words in front of a table with a mic in front of them, and words are just spilling out their mouth. They don't want to be there. And if you don't want to be somewhere, it's not hard to tell. When someone is inebriated, it's not hard to tell. When someone energy is low, it's not hard to tell. Body language speaks more than what people are actually saying. So looking at KD, looking at DeAndre Ayton, yeah, when people just had their shoulders slumped over and they just like got their head tilted to the side and they're like, they don't want to be there, dog. So second round knockout.
To be fair, he never wants to be there for any of this type of media day stuff.
But okay.
Yeah, no, I was just like, I'm agreeing with you. Like, I'm not saying you're wrong. Like, I'm agreeing with you. I'm also just adding as a caveat, he just doesn't like doing that anyway. Like, some players enjoy it. He's never enjoyed it. Like,
Yeah, he don't like the whole media thing at all.
Yeah.
So that's the vibe that's part of it, but I also heard some, him. I also hear to him and Kyrie, and they need to get in the room and have some serious conversations with them being best friends.
For KD, it happened out of Texas. Like, his first experience with NBA media has set his entire career one way. Because, like, imagine being 18 and waking up being told by the media every day you're going to be a bust because you can't bench your weight. Like, he's been anti-media from day one. This is just like another level because you're right. He is trying to buy in, getting the energy back, but at that moment in time, the body language was there, KP. I'm agreeing. I just want to make sure that everybody knows he just doesn't like the media as well. Gifted, hop in. Your final thoughts on Brooklyn Nets, and then you can go ahead and select the next team.
Yeah, so like again, my final thoughts on Brooklyn. I feel like they're very hard to rate, like to rank as far as like where they are, I don't view this team as a championship team. I think that there is real turmoil between the coaching staff and the players. I do look at this team as a team that can again top out pretty good, but I'm still not sure. I don't know what that is. You know what that is, Chris?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So like I still think the Nets are going to be a good team. Again, like this idea of Markeith is going to be the five or having smaller bodies at the five again. My issue is to close out lineups. You can say, well, we'll go Ben at the five, and then back to that, I can just say, okay, well, what happens if you play a team that has Giannis at the five? Like teams that are going to be able to take advantage of that. Ben cannot make up for every defensive problem, especially if you're saying Ben at the five. Because what that really means is, Ben, we want you to rebound at the five. We want you to be the back line or the help side rim protector, which takes them away from guarding point of attack. And I think that's the issue. Now, they can make changes to it. If this team somehow is able to dump enough salary to maybe get a guy like Miles Turner, then I think it makes more sense. But until then, I just don't see this team as a championship team.
Yeah, I have them as a top four team, healthy. They just have too much offensive firepower. Um, my biggest fear for them is rebounding, and they're going to run into two teams that I know for a fact that they should win on paper, but they're going to have a tough matchup because, like you named one of them is Milwaukee, because they're going to be able to attack and rebound, right? Like if you can control the pace like that, and you force Brooklyn to have to make every shot, that's kind of how they lost 2 years ago to
Oh,
Milwaukee.
but on top of that though, Chris, like this is something else we don't really talk about, right? But if we're just talking basketball, which here on the locker room we love to do that, but if we're just talking basketball, right? If Ben Simmons is on the floor and you know that Ben Simmons is a non-spacer, I'm putting the big on Ben so they can actually play. They don't have to worry about guarding him. And then from that point, defenses that have guys that can roam, now they're at a complete advantage. If they're matched up versus the Bucks, they can put Giannis on Ben, have Brook play drop, and then Giannis can make up for everything else back there. Like it's gonna be really questionable how that comes together. But as far as a regular season team, it's hard for me to say that they are not a playoff lock. They just are. So that's where I'm at with it, Chris.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's why I said they'll probably close with Ben at the five, but like they're doing that really to create offensive pressure. They're not going to be an all defensive team. We just got to understand that. All right, you see the pictures up there. You can choose one of those teams, or you can choose another team. Where we going, Gifted?
I'm surprised you didn't put your own team up here, Chris, but I actually want to go to the Pelicans.
All right.
I I have watched a lot of Pelicans games both last season, but more so back when they had Lonzo Ball when last seen Zion healthy. I like their team. Um, I think there's question marks. Obviously, like I think that their offense is going to be extremely productive. I want to see Zion back as more of a small ball five at times, or having him be the screener to Brandon Ingram to close out the games. Kind of similar to what Giannis and Chris do in crunch time, because I think Bi has shown that he can be a great ball handler and a perimeter shot maker to close out the ball game. But at the same time, the defense for this team is what concerns me, because ultimately, as much as I love Zion, last when he was healthy, he was a defensive liability. Valanciunas is okay to solid, but having him be your primary rim protector isn't that great. And as good as Herb Jones is, again, I don't believe in point of attack guys carrying the entire defense without a solid enough backline. So their defense is going to be questionable. But offensively, what this team will be able to do, especially in the moments where they have Brandon Ingram and Zion stagger, they're going to be a problem.
Yeah, I think they're going to be a problem. I still think they are probably a player away, and that player is at the center position. And this is with me saying that Jonas Valanciunas has been probably um, the second most not talked about center worth talking about. He's produced every place he stopped, and he's a great player. The issue is, like you said, he ain't a rim protector, and like that team is built to run and to be athletically superior. And then they drafted a guy to be a rim protector, and he's never developed into that. That's Jackson Hayes. I actually think New Orleans is going to sneakily trade for Miles Turner by the trade deadline.
Ooh, I like. Hey, listen, Chris, I like you saying that, man, because people forget New Orleans has a lot of assets still to trade. Like this team doesn't have to be the final team that we see when the season starts. And again, like I agree with you. Valanciunas is a very good offensive big man. Like last year, he did really, really well for them. The rebounding is where they're gonna live at. I think having Ingram, Zion, and him, even if they don't play great defense, I think they will be able to secure rebounds at the very least. But you're absolutely right. That big man to me is their last piece that they really need.
Do you realize that they could actually run a lineup 1 through 5 where Zion's the smallest guy?
Yeah, they can.
They
Yeah,
can
that's
run
wild.
Brandon at the point. They can run Herb Jones either at the 2 or 3. Put in Trey Murphy at the 2 or 3. Zion Williamson in, and they can have Jonas or Jackson Hayes.
Hey, I'm super high on Trey Murphy. A lot of people might not know who he is, but essentially he's a 6'9" wing that can shoot the ball well and had a lot of defensive potential. If he
He,
pops, that
he
could be
grew.
very dangerous.
He grew. He's not 6'9". He's like 6'10", 3/4.
Really, Chris? He grew?
He grew.
Oh wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, like he's almost straight up 6'11". Like they already calling him Baby KD down there. It's nasty.
Why would people do that to that young man?
I don't know, because people always need somebody to compare somebody to, because like they can't just say the kid is nasty. Trey Murphy,
Wait. Isn't Brandon Ingram baby KD?
he was now he's like teenager KD, I guess at this point. Who knows?
Okay, the multiverse is crazy. I'm sorry.
Trey Murphy went to Virginia. Shout out to the DMV, and he went as a defensive player. And like now the dude is gonna be like a lights out shooter in the NBA. Micah, you're up here. Let's get your thoughts. We'll head up to KP. We got Malika. If you're down below and you want to hop up here, go ahead. We're talking Pels real quick. I see some people who aren't Pels fans. Well, you know now.
Yeah. But everything I was just saying as far as like offensive, that doesn't really get exposed until the playoffs. So, man, the Pels are going to be – I think they're going to be dangerous in the regular season. And especially if they did make a trade for somebody like a Turner and then you got that together with a point of attack like Herb Jones, man, they could be dangerous. So I'm not really sleeping on the Pels right now.
Yeah, they can run an almost all defensive lineup too. They'd have Jose Alvarado, Herb Jones, Larry Nance Jr., Jackson Hayes, and if they could get Garrett Temple or possibly Dyson Daniels healthy and back, that would bode well to give you an all defensive lineup. Like the New Orleans Pelicans could have folded and fallen apart during the Zion saga. But like now, you look at them, and they are just scary deep. With a veteran in C.J. McCollum, who's been to the Western Conference Finals and knows what it takes to play against the top players like Steph.
It's
Like,
very hard, Chris, for me to say that they don't make the playoffs.
they make the playoffs, I think.
Yeah. Just off the strength that like last year they had no Zion. I understand they made it through the play-in route, but this team was dead in the water without Brandon Ingram after he got hurt. And the way Brandon Ingram turned, and came back, he was playing at an all-star level. So to me, like, this team is going to be a very potent offense which I agree will probably get exposed in the playoffs. But to me, they're for sure making the playoffs. I'm there.
They went from Devontae Graham being a leading scorer to Devontae Graham being third point guard on the team. And he's getting paid $11 million, people. Larry Nance Jr. is getting paid, I think, $9 million, right? That's $10 million right there. Jackson Hayes is getting paid like $7 million. Boom, max slot. That simple. KP, got anything for the New Orleans Pelicans? Have any questions? And by the way, down below, I've watched every media day interviews. I've seen them all except for Sixers, Pacers, and Thunder. Go ahead, KP.
Yeah, I was in a space yesterday and I said something that people maybe not have agreed with, but life isn't linear and neither is success. So just adding in a player, that's a good player. Zion's a really good player. I want to see how Willie Green adds him to the offensive scheme. Where does he place him? As far as a position, maybe they go positionless. Who knows? And I want to see if Zion got any better offensively. Like, can he dribble? Can he shoot? Consistently? Can he hit free throws consistently? Is he not just a Draymond that can, without the passing, that can dunk? So yeah, I'm interested to seeing them play. If they make trades to get better, that would be phenomenal because they should have beaten the Suns in the first round. My personal opinion, but who knows? But I'm excited to see. I think they're going to be top 7 team in the league, and I think they're going to just miss the playoffs, but make the play-in to get to the playoffs. That's if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And to all the Pelicans fans, cheer for your team, ride for your team, go to the games, because that's the only way that team's going to be stay in that city. They're not going to. It's a football city. I don't watch football, but I know that at least. If you go to the games, you have more of a chance that they stay than getting moved.
I agree. Last year they were 36-46, and it was kind of wonky. Essentially, they had better record than the Clippers, despite not winning as many games. The Clippers, who was another team, I've got the Pelicans and Clippers. They will end up replacing probably the Jazz, and maybe, unfortunately for some fans, the Dallas Mavericks, who seem to have done what Miami did, which is tread water during the offseason and make minor moves. And I think that's going to end up hurting them, because I think teams like Minnesota and New Orleans, who are now putting together healthy, young, dynamic teams, and a Clippers team that is just stacked, that puts a lot of pressure on the Mavs and the Jazz, and with the Jazz blowing it up, and I don't think anybody thinks the Jazz will be around. And like, I think when you look at the West, you end up talking about 3 teams for 2 spaces. And you know what? The Lakers, I don't think, are one of those teams. Not unless Anthony Davis stays healthy.
I think the weird part with that, though, Chris, and like what we have to try to remember is like how crazy the play-in is, because there is a possible reality. And like, I'm not saying that this is the only way that the Lakers can make the playoffs, but I'm just saying, if they rank as a 10 seed and they go through the play-in and they're healthy, at that point, it's just single game. And I wouldn't be surprised if they were able to squeak in through that.
Now, maybe. I actually have a question for the panel. Pelicans finished with a better record than the Lakers?
Absolutely.
Anybody else?
I think so.
Crickets.
I think so.
All right.
Yes, absolutely, 1,000%.
Yes.
I'm putting that up there. It's not a poll, just a question. Do me a favor, if you want, retweet it, put your answer down so we can have some receipts for some conversations later. As the locker room looks ready for season 2, as does Hoop Spaces, get to tell the people what we got in store for towards the end of the season and the off season. Phenomenal breakdown threads, phenomenal spaces breaking down games and players. What more do we get to look forward to in season 2?
Yeah. So far we have not taken any breaks. We've been grinding all off season. We've been trying to, be creative, do different things. So we have our 4 co-hosts in me, Derek. We finally have a female co-host, which I'm proud to say, heaven sent. She knows basketball. Diehard LeBron fan who claims she's not a Raptors fan, but we know what it is. And we have Derek Stein, who is the honorary Memphis Grizzlies fan, but says he is a Philadelphia fan. So we have an interesting cast of
Hey, why?
It's a lot of adjacent life going over there.
I know.
Y'all gonna give me my credit? Y'all gonna give me my credit? I'm sorry.
But let me give a point to KP. What is this? Alleged Memphis Grizzlies fan?
I'm just saying that's what. Listen, I'm not saying anything that I wouldn't say if Derek wasn't here. I'm just saying he said he's an honorary Memphis fan. He thinks Desmond Bain going to be an all-star this year. That's Derek, right? And obviously it's me. You know what I'm saying? Warriors fan, big watcher of basketball. So here at the locker room, we have it set to where now every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday, we're going to have a space at 7 o'clock detailing basketball in some capacity. On Wednesdays, we do film breakdowns, which I'll pin our most recent one on Embiid. We break down each aspect of the game through playmaking, defense, on-ball scoring, off-ball scoring, and also just highlighting big performances. But it's not going to be restricted to just players. Once the season starts and we see what these teams look like, we're going to gather up film on entire teams and specific lineups to talk about why they're doing really well or why they are the Lakers. And that's what we'll be doing every Wednesday.
Why they're doing well and why they're the Lakers. I love it. Giving you a point for the Lakers jab, man. We got to get together and talk on the phone so I can tell you the changes in the model for the website and how to integrate everything. You free this weekend?
Yes, I should be free this weekend for sure. Yeah.
Sunday? I'll take that as a yes. All right.
Oh, yes. I should be free this weekend. I thought I said it, but my phone might have frozen up. And I'll also pin our space up here at the top again tonight. We're focusing on why Joel Embiid has potential to be the best player in the NBA. We had a very fun film breakdown of just how good of a basketball player he is.
Well, I'm shocked that he already isn't the best player in the NBA. Yeah. Also up here, you got 2 dope shows, right? So we're gonna talk Embiid, and you got the And One mixtape up here, right? So they've had recent string of documentaries, and I grew up in the prime and height of And One mixtape basketball, and like if you are a certain age, you really saw the tail end, and it was just like a whole bunch of people doing stuff. You missed the movement, you missed the spark of swag, right? Like it was swag before swag was an acceptable adjective, right? Like it created a whole tapestry of art of basketball. So hop in with Malika. Let's talk some, And One mixtape, the rise and fall, so the good and the bad, and then you can understand why Joel Embiid should be considered the best player in the league by heading over to the locker room and chopping it up with Gifted and Derek. We got a couple people up here who are new to the stage, but not new to your ears. That'll be Just 30 and Dubs, our man Viral Nico, and Sir Denny, the NBA Whisperer over at Ball is Life. We'll go to Sir Denny first. We'll hit up Viral, and then we'll close with 30 and Dubs. And we'll head over to another team as we get ready to launch season 2 of Hoop Space. Literally just 2 weeks. And I'm going to give you a hint. That team has an owner whose name rhymes with Sark Mubin. There you go. Sir Denny, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good morning, everyone. Sir Denny Blanco, Ballers Life. It's in the Game podcast. Shout out to Randy J. Cruz. Thank you so much, Chris, for letting me speak today. Wow. I want to touch base on real quick the And One and one mixtape. I know there were 2 documentaries that just came out. I believe one was on Netflix, and I think one was on 30 for 30, ESPN. And I grew up through this, watching these guys. I mean, these guys were neighbors to me. I played with Shane. I played literally against Shane's dribbling machine, and he literally took my soul. There were other guys, the Headache, and other guys that were part of this league. It was fascinating to see these guys put in the hard work that they put in, coming from the hood, just playing street ball, Future, all these other guys. And at this point, they have nothing to show for it. Those men that started this league, about three partners, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know their bank accounts and how much money they've made, but the numbers that they were throwing around, you were talking about merch, sneakers, and this is obviously pre-social media days. A lot of people were getting paid, but the players were not. So it was interesting to watch the actual backstory of the documentary. It could have gone on for 3 hours. I think ESPN only did like 1 hour. I think Netflix did only like an hour and some change. But I mean, it could have gone for 3 hours just to understand the game. But it's very sad that those players got no residuals, got nothing from from N1. Shout out to the professor and those guys making what of it, as using social media to actual continue their legacy. But these other guys weren't too lucky. So the floor is now yours.
All right, I want to go ahead and share some news, and this is good news, ladies and gentlemen. Friend of the show, Jamal Crawford, this time last year, just hanging out with us, talking some hoops. Ladies and gentlemen, he is in the lead to replace Dwayne Wade on the NBA on TNT lineup.
Oh, wow. Nice. Well deserved.
It is. Now, it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet because, like, full disclosure, like, I talked with Maul. NBA Hooper Vision is phenomenal. Like, I hope it doesn't go anywhere. They're gonna have to find a player who can work with Q and keep that going. But like that was a sign of the future. So big ups to Jamal Crawford coming out as the leading candidate to replace Dwayne Wade. And I think if you watched him last year on the couple of shows that he was on, he's going to fit right in perfectly. So wanted to share that. All right, up next we'll go to Viral Nico. Viral, good morning. Thank you for coming up to share your thoughts. What do you have before we head over to the land of Mavs and talk about some smart? Well, I just did it. Yeah. Mavs basketball after that. Viral, go ahead.
Good morning, Chris, and good morning, guys. But I would like to say that the Detroit Pistons are my league pass team going forward.
Let's talk about it.
Yep. Also, Cade Cunningham has been in the weight room. Nobody has heard nothing from him, and he's just been working. And I like the addition of Jaden Ivey, and I think they're going to be a problem this year. I'm putting my stake in Detroit Pistons basketball this season. I'm a Knicks fan, but that's my league pass team.
Yeah, Detroit is coming. They are coming. So yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, full disclosure, I have never seen Viral and Damian Lillard in the room at the same time. Just throwing that out there. If you don't know, you don't know. Like, that's not my fault.
He does not look like Damian Lillard like that.
Not the profile picture he has. I've seen some other pictures. I ain't never seen those two in a room together. I'm telling you, Malika, it's weird. Everybody's got a body double. Like, for real. Mine just happens to be my son, so he ain't never going to be at the same age. All right, we are moving on, ladies and gentlemen, to a team that I think is going to have a more challenging year than last year, and that is the Dallas Mavericks. Last year, 52-30. They were 12 games behind the record. Well, not the record-setting pace, but the pace of the Suns. And they got eliminated in the playoffs rather easily because they are a heliocentric offense around one of the greatest players on the planet, Luka Doncic. When we look at what's happening Jose, like, what are your thoughts taking in Dallas Mavericks Media Day as well as opening preseason? I think 5 days. What do you got for us today?
Good morning, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. It's look, you can hear it in my voice. I'm happier. I have more energy because you know what? The NBA's back, and I am ready to go.
It's right here. Yeah, I mean, we've been waiting for media day. We've been waiting for training camp. Training camp it started yesterday. I'm very excited. It was Christian Wood's birthday yesterday, so happy belated birthday to Christian Wood. Now, as far as like your comment goes about the Mavericks having a tougher road, I think the West in general will be tougher for everybody. I mean, sure, we need another ball handler and some solid wing depth. But I think the Mavericks could still be a team that wins 50 games. And, I hate to be like some of the Mavs fans that say, oh, well, we have Luca, but that's the realistic thing about our team is that we have Luca who's going to be able to put up his numbers. He's going to be able to give guys their shot. And, we'll see what we have out of Christian Wood. I mean, right now, there's some talks about him coming off the bench. I mean, that was reported a long time ago. And he's saying that he didn't know, but he's been training with Sean Sweeney since 3 months. Like, when he got traded, he immediately came over and started immediately training. So that's that's good. Other than that, I mean, what was your other question, Chris? I forgot.
Oh, what are you looking like? What are you looking forward to? It's the start of the season. Most teams go in, and there's usually a positive spin, right? This is a little bit different because Dallas kind of did their work at the deadline, getting off of Kristaps Porzingis, bringing in Spencer Dinwiddie. They did their move early in the offseason, trading for Christian Wood. But then they kind of got hamstrung because of how their cap mechanics are, right? And so they didn't really do anything else, right? They brought in JaVale McGee. He's going to start. Christian Wood it says that he doesn't know whether he's coming off the bench. We're just going by what Jason Kidd said. Do you think you guys have enough with Tim Hardaway coming back healthy to stay at that 50 win mark?
So, I mean, it's hard to really predict if we have enough. I mean, that's gonna be on health. That's gonna be determined like with this training camp. I mean, who's gonna be our ball handler? Who's gonna take that mantle? And then also like, is Kimball Walker gonna stay in Detroit? Is he a possible fit for the Mavericks? Is there a trade? I mean, the positives that I could say is that we got Christian Wood and we got JaVale McGee. That's going to make an impact in terms of our rebounding. It's going to be able to have somebody like Christian Wood who's going to be able to shoot threes. And last year, I believe he was a 39 3-point percentage shooter. So, I mean, that's just big. Christian Wood's not the most notable center. In our group chat, we say that he's just a big wing. He's like an oversized wing, and I think that's the positive is that you gotta just buy the optimism into Christian Wood, and of course we got a young talent in Jaden Hardy who we could just say, hey, he's gonna light up preseason, and that's just gonna be fun to watch. Um, right now, my very very early prediction about the Mavericks is we make the playoffs, we're a second round exit. That's that's all I have on the Mavericks.
All right, definitely appreciate it. You got a season 2 of 77 Spaces getting ready to start as well. You've got yourself, you got Rolo, who's down below, and you have Jazz, aka Scammer Sultan. What are you looking forward to in the second season? As we want to go ahead and give a couple of other shout outs to some Mavs fans that we see. What up, Block Senior? What up, Shako? It's great to see you too. I missed the group chat, not gonna lie, but life moves on. What do you got in store for season 2, 77 Spaces?
So shout out to all the Mavs fans down below listening. I'm not sure if I'm the best voice for the Mavs, but I know that I'm a damn good one for the Mavs. So I'll say for season 2 of 77 Spaces, I mean, we're just gonna keep trying to give back to the people who follow us. We're gonna try to continuously put out great content, and you know, I said this to you, I think, in one of our private conversations, that I'm somebody who always likes to learn, and you know, as a basketball community, we could all get smarter. I mean, sometimes it just takes learning a bit about the game, and having some of those fans that tell you a different perspective and sharing knowledge. So, 77 Spaces is just going to be better, and we're going to come back more knowledgeable. We're going to come back with more funner experiences, and like I said, just giving back to people who support us, just like you support us as well, Chris. I hope to support you as we continuously grow. Thank you, Chris, for your time.
Yeah, thank you for your time, man. I appreciate what you and Rolo started and what Jazz hopped in to join when we started this last year. You know, it's a great example of the power of spaces used in a positive way. And we've passed the first hour. We're well into the second hour at 11:12. I want to thank everybody who's made any part of their hump day part of Hoop Spaces. We thank you. Brought to you live from Slam Goods. And you can head over to slamgoods.com to find out what they're about. And what they're about is giving you the accessories and the swag and all of the experiences of a basketball fan that you want. And also, right now, they've got sales on hoodies. And no offense to those, who don't understand the prevalence and the requirement of a hoodie. Like a hoodie is a must-needed clothing item. Like it's an article of clothing you should own, and you should have more than one, because hopefully you are fortunate enough where there may be somebody who might want to wear one, and you kind of have to let that happen. Otherwise, issues arise. So make sure you head over to slamgoods.com. Check out the Slam Against the World hoodie. It's on sale for $49.99. You can use promo code HoopSpaces and save 15%. But if you're like me and you already got the hoodies too, because like you knew hoodie season was coming, head over and check out their reprint publications. It's called the Rewind series. If you grew up at a specific time in place, you will tend to always go back to that specific time and place and say that was the best. Well, there is one time that we can say without a doubt there was the best time in basketball, and that was when you had the rise of the basketball magazines. Like, I don't know about you, but I always enjoyed like what I called the printed media wars, where you would have Sports Illustrated, you had Slam magazine, you had Dime, and then ESPN wanted to put out a magazine. It was absolutely the golden age of print media for basketball coverage. And you can go back in time and you can read all of the stories about Allen Iverson as they were written in time and kind of relive that era. So for me, it's nostalgic. But if you haven't experienced it, for you, it would be a brand new experience that would actually benefit you, being a smarter fan, but benefit you in touching history, right? So check that out over at slamgoods.com. All right, going in at 11:14, I've got the hurricane up, Hurricane Ian, and they did a cutaway to one of the field reporters who are, out in the rain with the cameraman. They're out in the rain, and there are two people just cruising along on bikes. I don't understand y'all. Like, you are out there in a hurricane on a bike. It drives me crazy. At the end of society as we know it. CJ, the Unathletic. You can catch CJ, the Unathletic Pod, drops on Fridays, getting ready for another season. CJ, been a minute. Hope all is well. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Chris. Nice to hear your voice again and to be in the space with you guys. Missed you guys. It's been a while.
Yeah, I missed you too. You are a Warriors fan. It's not like there was so much you could do. All you could do is celebrate. You're back at it. What are your thoughts on the off season? Do you think you're going to repeat? Hint, you probably do. And what else are you looking forward to as the Golden State Warriors open up Friday at 6 a.m.
So, as far as the offseason for the Warriors, I actually am relatively satisfied with what I saw them do. Um, there was only one thing that I kind of wanted them to do, which is to add another big. But to this point, I trust Bob Myers. He's never given me a reason not to this point. Um, I'm intrigued by our draft picks. I just found out yesterday that Guy Santos is gonna be suiting up for uh the G League team, so we'll be able to keep a close eye on him, and I'll be able to watch his games in Santa Cruz. So that'll be fun to kind of watch his development. Um, I'm intrigued by Patrick Baldwin Jr. The coaching staff has really raved about him and his IQ, so that's good to hear. Ryan Rollins is probably going to be spending a lot of time in the G League. My prediction is that PBJ probably spends a lot of his time going back and forth between the big squad and the G League. But he probably will get more time with the big squad than Ryan Rollins will. And as far as the season in total, I'm excited for this rookie class, and I'm excited for some teams that I believe are going to surprise a lot of people. You guys mentioned Detroit earlier. That's a team I'm excited to see. Um, I'm interested to see I called it a clusterfuck, excuse my language, of a roster with Orlando, but I'm interested to see how that's gonna work because they have a lot of guys who do a lot of the same things at the same position. And I thought they were going to either trade or let guys leave in free agency, and they didn't do that. So I'm interested to see how that all works out. And I'm excited for another NBA season.
All right. Are you as excited as Kent Bazemore was yesterday having to run at practice because nobody could hit free throws for the Sacramento Kings?
That was hilarious, honestly, and I actually think that Sacramento is a team that people. I'm not gonna say they're sleeping on, but I think that they are a dark horse to get into the play-in this year. Um, I think Mike Brown is gonna. I believe in Mike Brown. I'll say that. And I just think the collection of talent that they have is interesting. The only concern I have is if they're going to, because the projections say that they're going to start Keegan Murray and then put Sabonis at the 5, and I don't think that works if they're going to try to play fast. But that's the only question mark I have. But once the season gets started, we'll see how that goes.
All right. Well, it's a perfect time to hit this button. That's right. The corny 70s game show music is back. Still looking for a new game show thing.
No one hears the music, Chris.
Nobody hears the music? I hear the music.
I hear it, but it's very low.
There. Is that better? Is that better? Like it's like
it is corny, so I wouldn't want to hear it anyway.
Well, yeah, like I mean, make your mind up. Yeah, make your mind up. God.
Hey, Chris, can I ask you a question? How did it feel? How did it feel filming that Sacramento King practice from your office?
One, the offices wouldn't be in the practice facility in such a manner. Just to let you know. 2, didn't record it. 3, never worked for the Sacramento Kings. Don't ask me how I know that the offices aren't there, though. How do you like that answer?
How'd you feel about Mike Brown screaming, though?
Yo, Mike Brown is not going to be able to talk by the end of October. He's just not. I don't know if anybody's ever met Mike Brown. Like, he's a very boisterous individual. So, like,
yes,
he gets raspy anyway. Like, so, it's going to turn into, like, real fast.
He's not as bad as Doc Rivers, but yeah, he's gonna be hoarse by October for sure.
All right, so I hit the game show music to give you a chance to win absolutely nothing but points, love, and affection. Who had the better conference record? The Sacramento Kings or the Los Angeles Lakers?
The Lakers.
It was definitely the Sacramento Kings.
The Sacramento Kings had a better conference record than the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yep.
Hate to see it.
Lakers just beat up on the East. They didn't do nothing in the West.
I love to see it, actually. I love to see it.
Couldn't be me. I don't know what is in store for the Kings. What I do know is they were 4 games off of the 10th spot last year. And I believe they're going to have to win 6 to have a chance at the 9th or 10th spot. So they're going to have to go from 30-52 to 36-46. And I don't know if they can do that. And it really just comes down to depth. I just don't think they have a bench that is going to be able to compete with a bench like Denver, a bench like Minnesota, New Orleans, or Los Angeles Clippers. Scary, man. Scary how deep the West became in one off season. All right, we got KP. We have CJ, the unathletic Micah, Malika Walker of the Rewind, Gifted Blade of the Locker Room at NBA Film Spaces is the handle that you want to follow here on Twitter. And you know what? We will go ahead, though, and use that as a segue to the Sacramento Kings and then maybe to the Clippers. Who knows? They're gonna be at it. The video's up there if you haven't seen it. Mike Brown went old school. He closed out practice saying, "Hey, 2 players have to make consecutive free throws so we can end practice and go home." And they didn't. And they ran. And they kept running. And in fact, if you look up, there's video of them still running at practice this morning. So buy or sell, Sacramento changing their energy and making a play-in. If you're up on the panel and you want to add your thoughts, and then we'll move on and we'll talk about some Los Angeles Clippers because I think that's a team that everybody's going to have to pay attention to unless your name is the Golden State Warriors.
I'm not going to buy us. I'm going to hold on Sacramento. I think they're giving the new coach, him coming from a championship caliber organization. They have a couple of good players, had a decent draft. They should be okay. They shouldn't be worse than last year. I think they should be better. And that's why I'm going to hold. I don't know about the ownership and how that looks and how, if it's discombobulated. Chris, you can tell me if it's fire in the hole over there, being that you be there every other day. But yeah, I like Sacramento. I don't know. They're not going to, they may make the play in. They're going to be play-in eligible. I'll put it that way. They'll be play-in eligible, and then all bets are off after that.
All right, there you go. Love it. We'll go to Malika Walker. We got EK Johnson getting ready to come on up, and then we'll talk some more ball. We got about another 35 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, before we get ready to close out and get ready to enjoy the amount of sunlight we're going to have as we actually descend into fall and winter. Which if you guys have an issue with fall or winter, it's usually a clothing issue, and that's okay. We can help with that. Like, we're going to actually start having our own merchandise fairly soon. So, like, you could even purchase a hoodie that says Hoop Spaces on it to help keep you warm during these fall evenings and these autumn nights into the winter. Yeah, that was pretty smooth. I liked how I worked that in there. Malika, what you got for us?
But the Clippers, they're a team I'm watching. I mean, they just look so loaded. Between Kawhi being back, like Paul George, and then you have, you got the Reggie Jackson, you got the Nick Batum, who's been playing excellent. He figured out how to play when he left the Hornets. Terrence Mann, Norman Powell, they got a squad like Marcus Morris. So if they can't get it done this year, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like that. Because on paper it looks great, but let's see. John Wall. Like, let's see how they. They're going to be my league. I mean, I'm going to watch a lot of Detroit games, but I'm also for the West Coast. I will be watching Clippers more than probably any other team on the West because Kawhi plays for the Clippers, but um, and I'm just curious about how they're going to do with that stack lineup because somebody's not going to get the playing time they want, but we'll see how it goes.
Man, look, about playing time with Los Angeles. We talked about it briefly on Monday, and then I had a couple of private convos yesterday. They're 12 people deep. They have 12 players that would get a minimum of 12 minutes per game on any team in the league. Like, that's deep. Like Amir Coffey, who was just basically an outlier, who got time and run because of injuries, and signed a contract extension, isn't going to get any minutes. But if he were, say, on Miami, if he were on Toronto, he would get minutes because he's actually good. Brandon Boston, who was drafted last year, is a phenomenal offensive guard. Even as a rookie, he flashed prodigious shot creating ability. He's barely gonna get any time. And these people played well to keep the Clippers in the play-in. It's phenomenally deep. I don't know. I don't think there's a team in the league deeper except one position. And I think it'll be their Achilles heel. We'll talk about that in a moment. EK, we'll go to you. Your thoughts on the Clippers and anything else. We got CJ coming up, and then I'll tell you why I think the Clippers do have one major concern that they need to address sooner rather than later.
What's going on, guys? Good morning to everyone. Chris, thanks for bringing me up. Just wanted to talk a little bit about the Clippers. I pretty much agree with everything everybody's been saying regarding their lineup. They are about 13 guys deep, which is ridiculous. And when you look at some of these names, I mean, obviously you've got Kawhi, you've got PG, then you've got Nick Batum, Terrence Mann, Robert Covington, Reggie Jackson, Brandon Boston, who's really going to be good, Norman Powell, Luke Kennard, Marcus Morris. I mean, they're just completely loaded. And when you look at where they were last year, they I think their defensive rating may have been 8th in the league, and that was without Kawhi. So just imagine how better their defense will be and how better their offense will be, obviously adding John Wall in. I just think they're going to be an amazing basketball team. And also, pretty much piggybacking off of the thoughts about the Kings, I do agree with KP. I feel like they're going to be a lot better than people are giving them credit for. I think Keegan Murray, besides Paolo Banchero, is probably the most NBA-ready rookie. Remember, they also drafted Keon Ellis, who's going to be a two-way guy, but they drafted him this past draft, and he looked really good in the summer league as well. They've also got guys like Davion Mitchell, Chimeze Metu, who I don't know if you guys follow FIBA or not. He was really, really good this summer for the Nigerian team in FIBA, and they're bringing back De'Aaron Fox, who's really good, and also Domantas Sabonis. So I feel like the Sacramento Kings, I know, Chris, you said 36 wins. I'm going to go 38. I think they can really – I really think if they get a good pocket of games where they're able to put together some winning streaks, I feel like they'll get the 38 wins as opposed to 36.
All right. Keegan Murray, if you were listening at the time of the draft, I made no qualms about no attempt of trying to hide how high I am on Keegan Murray. I think personally Keegan Murray has a better than 1 in 3 shot at Rookie of the Year. So and really it's also because Chet Holmgren is out, right? But yeah, so I think Keegan Murray will average more points than Paolo. I don't think he averages as many rebounds. I think defensively they'll be on par. and it'll come down to whether or not Sacramento can make the play-in or the playoffs. And I think if they are in contention, I think he'll get the media vote because he's a very likable person as well. Mike, CJ, you two are up next. I want to give some shout-outs down below before you go. Shout out our friend Nelly J, host of Raptor Spaces with Fahim for the win, also host of the Good Rookies podcast. Make sure you shoot them a follow because the team we're talking about after the Clippers will be the Raptors. You're going to want to actually enjoy some of the best of Raptors players this season. Micah, go ahead.
Yeah, man. Like, real quick on the Sacramento, like, even as deep as the West is, I think we can all agree that there's going to be 4 teams that are going to be terrible. Houston, San Antonio, Utah, OKC. So that's 4 teams right there. There's definitely a world where the Lakers are just as bad as they were last year, depending on health. So I could easily see Sacramento with their roster competing for at least the 10th seed. Why not? And as far as the Clippers are, I'm still interested to see how it plays out. Like you said, they're loaded. They got depth, so that'll allow a lot of load management, which they're probably going to do. So I kind of stay the same thought. They could go as far as competing in the Western Conference Finals, or it could fall apart and they're like a 6th seed and get bounced in the first round. It's just to me, they're a real big boom or bust team, like just depending on how things play out. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
Chris, you still there?
Yeah,
Go ahead, see.
I got it. I had a phone call. I thought I was on Do Not Disturb, and I got a phone call, and they said, "Please don't talk about this." And I said, "Okay, all right, I'm back." Micah, you went. I'm assuming. So CJ, you're up.
Yeah, appreciate it. I think for me, as far as the Kings are concerned, I agree with Micah. I think there's a legit shot for them to get in the play-in. I think my only concern again is that if they want to play up tempo, I'm just kind of worried about the meshing of Sabonis because I feel like Sabonis is a player that's better suited for a slower paced game than he is as the Clip. My only concern with the Clippers is their depth behind Zubac because they're deep literally everywhere else. But I think they need another big behind Zubac to make, like, I don't know. I think they need that because when you have a lot of these teams now, like a Minnesota who's added a lot of size, you got Portland who's got size, you got what's the other team out there? Even Dallas, has added a little bit more size. Not a whole lot, but they've added a little bit more size with Christian Wood and JaVale. I just worry about the depth behind Zubac. But outside of that, I think the Clippers are a team that is going to be a problem for everybody in the league, and that definitely includes my Warriors. Because what they are stacked with are guys who can guard the perimeter very well, and that's going to be problematic. So I think the Clippers are a top 4 team in the West, barring any injuries. And then, like I said, with the Kings, I could definitely see them
in the play-in. With Micah's point about there being 4 teams in the West that are going to be just absolutely terrible.
Even the terrible teams, I think a lot of people are kind of piling on Houston and OKC. I don't think they're going to be as bad as a lot of people think. Like even OKC, yeah, they were 24-58, but they actually weren't that bad of a losing team. I know it's hard to explain, but the way that Sam Presti's constructed the roster is to still have some competitive play while still uh, garnishing off of the current CBA structure so that they can get every edge possible to make Oklahoma City into a perennial contender to better the chance of essentially financial stability for the ownership group. Right, he's doing his job.
No, I agree with that, Chris. I just because you make a great point when you say that. I guess there's not so much that they're gonna be terrible. It's just because those teams are young, they gonna catch their lumps throughout the season.
Right. They are, and then the issue that you have is Portland was only 27-55 because of injuries to Dame. Like if Dame was healthy, they stayed the Portland Trailblazers. Now the whole change still probably happens in the off season, but let's be honest, like they were still a competitive playoff team when healthy. So like you have the Lakers who just won a championship, the Trailblazers who are competitive, and then you had the same three at the very bottom, which are the Kings, Thunder, and Rockets. The Kings look better, the Rockets look better, but they're young, and the Thunder looked better until Shea Gilgeous-Alexander apparently went out with the injury. And speaking of SGA, shout out to everybody who DM'd me the report or put it out on Twitter. And I'm going to give credit to Santa Rosa because she tagged me with it. Yes, Majiri is eyeing the situation regarding SGA in Oklahoma City so he can bring home Canada's wanting son. I actually think that Canada, as a country, would love to get every Canadian player together on the Raptors and win a championship, just so they can look at us and stick it to us. And honestly, if that were to happen, I would laugh. I would enjoy every minute of it. So shout out to the folks in Canada who not only rep the Toronto Raptors, but also rep a very sneaky and dangerous Team Canada basketball team. Like, watch out, they're coming. KP, hop in here.
Yeah, about the Clippers, be careful what you wish for. Having too much of any good thing is not a good thing. You can drink too much water and drown. You can have too much chocolate and go to the dentist and they got to give you cavities all over your mouth. So having too much of a good thing isn't always a good thing, especially in the playoffs. But I think the Clippers are going to it all depends on the personality of the players, not the skill of the players, and who wants to play, who thinks they should play, and who will be playing. We know Kawhi, they're going to be playing back-to-backs if they're smart, depending on the Clippers' schedule at the beginning of the season. If it's a lot of back-to-backs, like some teams have a lot of back-to-backs at the beginning of the season, so it may be a staggered success for the Clippers because I don't know the schedule. So if they have a lot of back-to-backs at the beginning of the season, you may see more staggered. I don't know if John Wall will be playing back-to-backs, being he didn't play for a couple of years consistently. So it's going to be an interesting watch, but having too much of a good thing isn't always a good thing.
That is true. I've got both Kawhi and John Wall playing between 55 and 60 games, right? And that'll account for back-to-backs and some load management and then a couple of hiccups, nothing more than missing 2 or 3 days. And if they can get 55 to 60 games with the majority of their games ramping up towards the end of the year, that is going to be a very formidable team. Because what I think one thing that we overlook when we look at the Clippers is we do overlook Ty Lue. A lot of people were questioning whether or not Ty Lue would be able to win without LeBron James, and I was actually one of those people. I did say like, anybody can win with LeBron. Like even David Black could have won a championship with LeBron. But one thing that I've given Ty Lue more and more credit for every season that's gone on beyond him being with LeBron is I don't think there's a player, a coach other than maybe Spoelstra who has a better ability to get a group of men to buy into one singular idea of cohesion. And you saw that last year, being able to take that team to 42-40, where Reggie Jackson was your best player. So, it might be they have too much of a good thing, but I look at it now as they got Kawhi coming back healthy, PG's healthy, John Wall's healthy, at least from everything we're seeing. And then they've got $37 million in contracts that they can trade for another max player. And like they literally can put a team of 5 all-stars on the floor. But CJ hinted to it. Their Achilles heel, I think, and their one weakness that will ultimately doom them is they do not have the depth behind Vika Zubac. I love Rocco. I'm a huge Robert Covington fan. He can play 3 to 5 and guard 2 to 5. But he's not going to stop Cat. He's not going to out rebound Gobert. He's not going to stop Jokic. He's not going to stop Yusuf Nurkic if he's healthy. And that's the problem. Like, he's not going to stop Ayton. Like, say what you want about Phoenix, but like they really haven't gotten worse. So like, can he stop them enough? And I don't know, because he's more of a wing defender, not a paint defender. And I think that puts a lot of pressure on the Clippers because they're going to end up having to play small. So I look forward to them to make another move, to get another big. And, before the Dallas Mavericks picked up JaVale McGee, a lot of people had JaVale McGee like hook, line, and sinker to the Clippers because of Ty Lue. TJ, you're up here. New voice, ladies and gentlemen. Diehard Warriors fan will get his thoughts on anything he wants to add. As training camp opens, media days have come, and we are still glued on the TV with Hurricane Ian because I watched natural disasters. I can't turn away. It's like a train wreck, and my eyes are glued. TJ, good morning.
Morning, Chris. Morning, everybody on the stage and followers. I think I came up here to talk more about the Clippers than my own team because we're the champs. We got some good additions, and I'm just ready for business. But as far as like the Clippers go, I totally agree with what CJ said about their front court, especially at the center position. But I think the rest of the conference has kind of gotten a lot bigger down in the paint for some reason. Only teams that are really pretty smaller are still like the Warriors and the Clippers. So I think that was a move for us later on down the road. But as far as the Clippers go, they're very stacked at every single position. I feel like they definitely need someone that's like a power forward, but a stretch four kind of guy that might make them get past the second round, because that's what I ultimately think that team will go. So that's all I really got. I just wanted to chime in on that part. Thanks for letting me speak.
You just came up here to dump on the Clippers and say they ain't
Of course, because they're Clippers. So
well, you know what? We've got Clipper royalty in the building and on stage, ladies and gentlemen. The new host of the podcast, Locked On Clippers. Everybody, give a round of applause to Dime Dropper. That is right. From grinding reaction videos to YouTube videos and a podcast to now being the voice for thousands and thousands of Clippers fans, our man Dime Dropper, who had the gall to say that Iran was going to wash the United States men's national team. Congratulations. Your first congratulations publicly for being named the host of the Locked On Clippers podcast. Locked On Sports Network is a great regional and national sports network. We talk to a lot of those guys, so make sure you follow Dime Dropper and then follow the Locked On Clippers page. Dime, you came in at the right time. I love the Clippers, except for one thing. They don't have a competent backup for Ivica Zubac, in my opinion. You hear TJ just saying second round. That's all. Tell him why he's wrong.
Well, first off, I want to say thanks for the very kind intro. Always appreciated. And obviously, started with Hoop Spaces over a year ago, and Dimes Bank will be coming back during the season. So I've been meaning to try to get back onto that. Second round has always been the Achilles heel for the Clippers before 2021, but it's all about health. If we're healthy, unless we face the Warriors in the second round, I really don't think any of these teams are that crazy. Like, it's not like back in the day where you had the Spurs, the Warriors, the Thunder with KD and Russ. Like, I just feel like there's a lot of good teams in the West and not a lot of great teams. But I will say a team that kind of concerns me a little bit, and that's the Denver Nuggets if they get Murray back at his best, because Jokic is just a problem. And, our intention is with those big wing guys to switch everything, but you can't switch everything on Jokic because he's like an actual proper 7-footer with skill that can take advantage of these kind of guys. So that makes it a little tricky. But we'll see. It all depends. It's so far away from the playoffs. I'm just excited to have Kawhi Leonard back. Like, I think the NBA, whether you like him or not, it's just going to be exciting to have one of the best players in the league back after a year. And, I mean, this team is so focused and excited. So I can't wait. And obviously being the host of Locked On Clippers as well as my own podcast is going to be fun just to follow the ride. So I'm excited.
No, I'm excited for you. I remember when we introduced people to you, like they didn't understand what you were doing at first, and now I think a lot of people have said, "Wait a minute, like it's actually cool to go back in time and learn and teach, themselves about the game, right?" And that's what he's done, ladies and gentlemen. So go over to YouTube and subscribe to the channel, and then check out some of the phenomenal content he has working his way from the beginning of the NBA on up, and you'll see very clearly and very quickly why Locked On made the absolute right decision to make him the voice for the Clippers content over at Locked On Sports. So with that, I got to ask, man, because last year's records were, close. Clippers are better than Lakers, yeah?
I mean, no question in my mind. First off, I want to say the classic content, and shout out to Malika who's in here who collabs with me on a lot of this classic content. It's really stagnated because of Locked On, because it just put so much more work on my plate. I mean, 5 days a week to upload podcasts, like it's just going to be tough, and I really hope I can continue my journey at the rate that I want to continue it at. But the Lakers, the thing is, I think we've gone past the point where we shouldn't care about being better than the Lakers anymore. I think that's small-minded. We're up against the other 29 teams in the league, and yeah, I think we're definitely better than them. I think that their depth is just nowhere near ours. I think any Laker fan would agree to that. And that's another team, I'm just really excited to see if they can stay healthy and if Russell Westbrook part 2 with the Lakers is going to work out any better. And I think Darvin Ham is going to be a better coach. But again, it's the same with them, is that their health is just as important as ours in terms of health of their stars. But the difference is when LeBron sits out or AD sits out, they take a huge hit. Whereas we have the depth to compensate and are used to these situations. And they are just, if they rely so much on Anthony Davis on defense to do so many things. If he goes down, they're in big trouble. So that's what I got to say about them. We should definitely be better than the Lakers. That's not even a question to me, at least.
Oh, yeah. No, I just have to throw that out there because we see one of our favorite Lakers content creators down below. Shout out to Edwin Garcia.
Edwin made the comment yesterday. The 90s East was overrated. Malika didn't like it.
Yeah. Okay. It's not overrated. Like that. Chill, Edwin. Like, you can't be any more wrong. Literally. 90s Eastern Conference basketball brought about the future of what we're watching today. Just nasty narratives already. Not even the season hasn't started, and Lakers fans are already out there preaching nasty narratives. TJ, CJ, either one of you hop in here. We got about 10 minutes, and you're catching strays there because I'm trying to get you up here so you can answer a question about the Lakers. TJ or CJ, either one.
I'll go ahead because I'll make this quick. I believe that the Clippers will eventually at some point end up trading to get a competent backup for Zubac. And once they do that, I think that's going to be the biggest thing for them. And as far as the season goes, I think we're gonna have an interesting trade deadline as well, because with how DeAndre Ayton was reacting to questions during the Phoenix press media day, excuse me, it looks like he doesn't want to be there much longer, and I've heard that Miles Turner's days in Indiana are numbered. So I think we're gonna have a really interesting trade deadline once that comes up for the season.
Yeah, I agree. I put a tweet out and I said, wouldn't it be crazy if Russell Westbrook was traded Friday? TJ, go ahead. What you got?
Oh, you got inside info, Chris. That's what's up. So I just wanted to say to Dime Dropper, I appreciate you confirming the second round exit for me. And I really do think that they have the squad to do damage. But if it's just Zubac, I'm totally in agreement with what CJ just said. It's going to be a pretty tough road, especially if you guys playing teams like a Denver. But I like the team. That's the best compliment I'm gonna say as a Warriors fan, is that the Clippers actually look pretty decent on paper. I just want to see it in action. That's pretty much all I got. Minnesota's a pretty good team too, so I want to see that team a lot more for this season.
Yeah, I like Minnesota as well. No inside information. When I say, it would be funny if Russell Westbrook would be traded on Friday. I promise you. It's not like I'm talking to anybody in the front office or anything. Samir, we're going to go to Samir next. Samir, thank you for coming by. What's up? Good morning. Your thoughts on training camp or media day as the NBA gets ready to, open up?
Yeah, hello Chris. How are you?
I'm well. How are you, friend?
I am from India, my friend.
That's I can hear it. Are you a fan of the NBA?
Yes, I am critically very excited to start over the season. In just 2 days, training camp is running. Much excited about it.
Who's your
So
favorite?
I am here to join us.
Who's your favorite team, Samir?
My favorite team is Memphis
All right,
Grizzlies
that's what I'm.
because I like Ja Morant.
Hey, we like hearing that. They need they are a interesting young team. If you look up top, there's a video of them opening up training camp, and they are all loose and dancing and are ready for the middle of the season. And if you're wondering, ladies and gentlemen, why I say it would be hilarious if Russell Westbrook would be traded on Friday. Rob Pelinka said something that caught my attention in his media day interview, and we'll see if Edwin Garcia heard the same thing. Edwin, he creates 88 is the handle. Make sure you follow him. Doing great Lakers content with the pettiest Lakers fan on Twitter. So make sure you tap in with him. Edwin, your thoughts that you got on the Lakers and training camp, and did you find out what was wrong with the picture released by the Lakers at the end of training camp yesterday?
I did not see anything wrong with that picture. I'm not gonna touch that part. I'm guessing you didn't like the facial expression, the deadpan stare from the one of the three highest salaried players on the team. But I'm just gonna say that was the angle. Maybe there's catching his breath after working so hard in practice, he just couldn't really smile or look too engaged in a hands up unison, kind of 1, 2, 3 Lakers kind of thing. So that's what I'm guessing was up with that picture. I did release an article and video regarding media day, but really quick, it was an interesting media day. I think there was still some tension over the Russ, being still there and all the rumors and stuff. I think Pelinka handled it okay. I wouldn't say well, but I think he handled it okay. I like that he mentioned the step-in rule and how serious it is to make that kind of trade that everyone wants. It's basically, like he said, it's a one shot. After that, there's no more speculation for Laker fans, except for the ones who, for some reason, think the Lakers would somehow trade LeBron. That'd be the only thing left, which they'll never do, which is why I don't like talking about it, because I don't like talking about stuff that won't really happen. So once they do this if they do this trade, Once they do that, that's it. There's no more. What if we get? What if we? It's done. You're stuck, and that's the team. So as Palinka mentioned, they have to make. They can't just acquiesce to the demands of fans. One of the, I'm not sure if it's a saying from them, but one of the members of the Lakers organization told me, if you keep listening to fans, you're going to be sitting right there with them. And
oh yeah, that was Kurt Rambis.
Yeah. I don't know. Kurt didn't tell me that, but someone from the organization did tell me that. I'm like, oh, that's a good line, and that's exactly what the situation is. You can't just say, okay, fine, let's just do any trade just so people stop asking, because then guess what? That's your final one. You can't do it. You have no more draft picks you can trade. You don't have any more assets you can move, and now you're stuck with that team. So they have to make that decision. It's got to be an intelligent one. So that was my first takeaway. My other two, Darvin Ham really emphasized defense. He seems like a defensive-minded coach more than anything. And I like the little snippets we got from training camp of how they're running this training camp versus previous years. I like Vogel, but this definitely seems like an improvement from that. So right now I'm about as optimistic as you can be, which is still not crazy. I'm not thinking they're a top 4 seed or anything like that. We just want them to be engaged, play good defense, and we also have our battle at the 5th between Thomas Bryant and Damian Jones, and who's going to start there. I don't think it matters too much, because I think they're still going to split that time anyway, and it just depends on how high you are on Bryant, whether you think he's going to be the starter or not. So I'm excited. It starts Monday, so it's actually, now we're really in the thick of it. It's going by really quick, but I think we're all excited about that.
So I have been following this idea of Buddy Hield to the Lakers a little bit more carefully over the last week or so, and an interesting tidbit came across my way, Edwin. Do you have any idea what that tidbit may be?
No, I'm not sure. What's the info you got?
Now they won't need to potentially add 2 first-round draft picks to a Russell Westbrook trade, because now they can base the trade of Russell Westbrook simply around Buddy Hield and Goga Bitadze.
That's interesting.
So that is something to look at, and if that would be the case, all 3 players I just mentioned have the ability to be traded. Anyway, just saying, it would really be crazy. It'd be hilarious if Russell Westbrook was traded Friday. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying it'd be funny. KP, go ahead, Evan.
I think it's if I had to bet, Russ doesn't make it through the trade deadline. That's what I've told people. I'm like, I find that he's going to have to be what I wished he always was with the team. And it's just hard to imagine that happens, because the truth is, if he's defensively engaged, if he's the best version of himself even now, then I think you don't even have to maybe do the trade. I just find it unlikely that that'll happen, right? It's hard for a Tiger to change his stripes, and he seems to want to only defensively engage when someone legitimately challenges him, and he's kind of frustrated. Like that Warriors game was probably the best defense he played all season. He felt like he had to prove something that day. And it's just, we need it every day, or at least, 75% of the days on defense specifically. And then the way he's aging, he's just not gearing towards the fact that he's not as explosive, and being a smaller player, it's harder when they age, because he needs to be such a, explosion to kind of be effective. So, it's a challenge, and I just don't think it'll work long term, but it's up to him. If Russ can make this a lot easier, if he were like, oh, it's actually, it's kind of working, then that might change things, but it's unlikely, I think.
Yeah, I wish he developed a nuance to his game. Go ahead, hop in here, Dime.
Since when did Edwin change his handle? He used to, what happened to at Lakers Takes?
I changed it maybe like a month ago. I just felt like I'm still running Lakers Takes. I'm still Lakers Takes, but I feel like when I had that handle, I didn't feel like I could talk about anything else. And I wanted at least the ability to say something about, the MCU without someone being like, hey, I thought you're Lakers. Like, what the heck are you talking about movies for? And I'm like, I'm more than just that. So that's why I kind of changed the handle there.
trust me, I empathize with you so much, like so much, because I have been asked that, like, dude, why are you talking about McDonald's? Like, because like they suck, their fries are horrible, and I want to say that their fries are garbage, so I'm saying they're garbage. But you talk about basketball, I'm like, yeah, I do, but I also talk about how bad French fries are. KP. Go ahead. And then we got Samir, Malika, and TJ. We'll get ready to close it out, everybody.
I gotta close. Well, I have to run, but I want to make sure I give these Marvel fans a quick enema. Shout out to Ryan Reynolds because he's making this Deadpool movie with Wolverine, and he's gonna show you guys how to make an interesting movie that's not mid, and it's an actual character that cracks jokes for a living. Stop giving people characters that's all they doing is cracking jokes. Thor don't crack jokes. Iron Man is not a comedian. So Deadpool is going to be a great movie. I trust Ryan Reynolds to make a movie more than Kevin Feige. Second and lastly, shout out to my man, Mahershala Ali. I feel for you, brother. The Blade movie's been pushed back, people. I was told DC is the only corporation, entity, comic book theology that has issues making movies. Whoops. Hates to be right. And I'm going to close on this. Hashtag KP was right. ... again.
Both Blade and Deadpool beat Batman.
Hey, why are you talking about Deadpool? You're supposed to be talking about basketball. You can't be talking about that. Chris, stop it.
Okay, so Blade and Deadpool would be Steph Curry and Klay Thompson to Jason Tatum. There you go.
Stop it, Chris.
Yeah. Love it. Micah, 30 seconds. Last take, then we'll go Samir, CJ, TJ, Maliki.
Okay, last take. DC don't have problems making movies. They just have problems making movies that aren't mid. And but anyways, last take, and yes, I love all the different takes. I love, like, we don't gotta just talk basketball. We can talk, I don't know, how you think French fries are mid and how I think pumpkin spice latte is terrible. Jazz and Jose can definitely tell you why I think that now. You know, Corey Abman made it terrible. It used to be mid, but because of them, it's terrible. So, but that's my last take. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's my last take of the day. And, well, except for the Lakers. Hey, can y'all come up off of one of those guards, man? Y'all got 8 of them. We just need one. But that's it, man.
Free, you can free, let's see, who do they have? Kendrick Nunn. Free Kendrick Nunn and send Kendrick Nunn to Dallas so he can be a Maverick. There you go. Appreciate it, Micah. Samir, 30 seconds. What do you have for us as we get ready to close out?
Hey Chris, I just wanna ask about Jay Crowder. He's gonna be traded. Where he did land?
Yeah. He's definitely gonna be traded. The reason why he hasn't been traded yet is the Miami Heat signed Udonis Haslem, and Miami was in this really weird position where KD's and Kyrie's summer kind of held off their plan. They didn't expect to lose PJ Tucker, and they kind of scrambled to try to find somebody, but signing Udonis Haslem took away a roster slot and then put them over the tax threshold, so they couldn't sign anybody without using like a vet minimum or MLE. So Heat are a possibility, but I think actually Cleveland is going to end up picking up Jay Crowder as opposed to Miami. And the reason why is losing Lauri Markkanen is a little bit more important than what a lot of people want to give credit for, because they kind of just want to make fun of Lauri Markkanen because he's adverse to rebounding. But at the 4 and the 3, because that's where he would slot in when Evan Mobley and Jared Allen were on the floor, he was able to out-rebound the three and still extend the floor, and they're missing that. And the only person on the market available who has any type of game like that would be Jay Crowder. So my guess, Cleveland. Real off chance also going back to Boston. That also is a possibility. All right, great question, Samir. We'll bring that up on Friday's show when we talk a little bit more
Yeah,
about.
Chris, I agree with you. I agree with you. Sure.
All right, appreciate it, Samir. EK, 30 seconds. Last take. Go.
Thank you.
Hey guys, just wanted to piggyback on the LA Clippers, I guess, sort of conundrum with their backup center. I don't know if you guys remember Moses Brown Jr. He played in OKC 2 years ago, and he averaged 8.6 points per game, 8.9 rebounds per game, and 1.1 blocks per game, while playing in 43 games and starting in 32 games. And this was about 2 years ago. He's a third-year player, so he's a young guy. And I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on him backing up Zubac, giving the Clippers a good 10 to 12 minutes per game. I feel like he's really, really going to be good. And, other than that, love all the takes. I do agree. I believe that over the course of maybe the last 2 years, Marvel has been extremely mid, but I also cannot wait to see Deadpool. So I think that's going to be a good way for Marvel to sort of bounce back. And that's all I got, Chris.
All right. Moses Brown is tall. I actually like Moses Brown. 7'1", 7'2", 240. 4 teams in 2 years. Probably should have stayed in UCLA an extra year, or maybe even gone to a different university. But if he were on the Clippers, like, it would be a perfect fit for a big coming off the bench to give 10 to 12 minutes and give some size and some rim protection. I think what ends up happening is he gets compared to like Jan Mahinmi, and there's a hands issue, and you can't be that big rolling to the rim and not being able to catch the ball, man. Like that's frowned upon pretty quickly, unfortunately. But I will say it takes longer for bigs to develop, and I actually probably could see him working his way into a rotation and then developing into an actual 22, 26 minute, big. He's got some great game. He just, kind of clunky on the hands. Let's see. TJ, you're up. Last take.
Okay, so I got a last take is this. Chris, I'm keeping track of all the good food takes that you have had this season, and congratulations, you got it right for the first time. McDonald's fries are trash. I agree with you. The second part is that I'm really looking for Dallas this season. I want to see if they can take that next step since they got so close last season. I want to see Sacramento pretty good and in good health so that they can try to fight for a playoff position. And obviously I want the Warriors to dominate like they've been dominating over the past decade and win another championship. That's pretty much it. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'll see y'all next time.
All right. Before you go, are you going to be buying one of those adult Happy Meals they got coming out?
Oh, I don't even eat McDonald's. So there's that.
So McDonald's has figured out a way to swindle even more money from most of y'all, because all of you are probably going to do this. They are making adult Happy Meals where you can get a 10-piece chicken nuggets or a Big Mac. And yes, you get a toy.
It's Batman, probably.
Nah. They're doing it's all nostalgia. Like Hamburglar, Grimace, the weird bird-looking thing that they killed off in 91.
That purple thing was crazy, man.
Purple thing was Grimace. There's so many jokes with Grimace. We can't go down that route.
Maybe later on, maybe.
Yeah, that's 11 p.m. space material. But Hamburglar making a return is dope. I'm thrilled that the Hamburglar is coming back. And there's an inside joke to even that. And none of y'all will probably understand what it is because McDonald's doesn't want you to know. But it has something to do with Chicago. Let me just throw that out there. There you go.
I need you to stop the slander this morning, Chris. Stop.
I'm not slandering
crazy gender. I love fries. Fries are wonderful. Fries. I ate fries for dinner the other day because I love my fries.
Well, the Fries love you too. I wouldn't want to be saying that out loud in public, but that's just me. Like I'm worried for you, Danny. At the end of the day, Danny, it's just a potato, doused in salt, cooked in grease.
I
That's it.
actually air fried my fries, sir. I air fried them, and they came out nice and crispy and good. No oil at all. Thank you.
You wait. You over there eating some hot, dried out potatoes, thinking they fries.
They
All
were
right.
moist. They were very moist. They were very fulfilling. They were done. They were very good with a little salt and fries and some ketchup. Wonderful. I was happy with my Mountain Dew, and I was in heaven.
Jeez, that is a trifecta of nastiness. Mountain
Um,
Dew. You're washing down French fries and ketchup with a vile neon green liquid.
the drink of champions. Thank you. Not Gatorade, but Mountain Dew.
Speaking of champions, I want to shout out. She's not in the room. I'm going to wait for her to come in the room. I want to shout out Cass being Cass. Sent over a copy of the championship publication for the Las Vegas newspaper and the actual team magazine. I'm going to get that framed up. So I've got something that's an actual tangible piece of the Aces championship parade. Hopefully you did too. And if not, better luck next time. Malika, last take.
Last take a look at my Mahmoud thread. Like on the Jumbotron. It's meant to be a discussion tonight on N1. I just wanted to chat about the docs, how people felt about it. So check out tonight, 8 o'clock, the rewind as we talk and discuss both N1 documentaries. I personally enjoyed Untold more than 30 for 30, but that's just me. Also, next week, we'll be talking about the rise of the Black quarterback book. So that's what I have coming up. And looking forward to NBA starting any day. And I think the Clippers are going beyond the second round. If they could get it together, I think they could really do something special.
Why is that sorry?
Didn't
Go
you
ahead,
say
ask your
second
question.
round?
No, that was TJ, I believe. That said second round. I think if we lose in the second round, I'm gonna be like actually down so bad. Like it's gonna be honestly, if we don't win the championship, I'm just gonna be down so bad. I feel like I need to just come to terms with that now and just be like, look, if we don't win at all, I'm just gonna be down bad. Like just gotta accept it. I've never been in that situation before, but it's the reality this year. I mean, there's no excuses to make.
Prohibitive favorites, man, that is the sword of Damocles that you sit under.
I know. It's like I have to have that expectation because this is what I mean. I got no excuses. I mean, we have an amazing coach. We have a guy that's been there, done that. Not like Chris Paul's our best player anymore, and the depth is incredible. I mean, the only question, as you guys said, is that backup 5 spot. But in today's NBA, that's sometimes the least relevant thing, like a backup traditional center. But I still think we should go out and get one, unless what's his name Ike was saying about Moses Brown. I mean, I'd be great if we already have our backup center just sitting on the bench because we don't need this backup center to play that much anyway. Because in the playoffs we go small a lot, and as you guys said, unless we're playing like a Jokic, I mean we're straight with the small ball. I think with 5 guys with 6'9" that are like wingspans over 6'10". So we'll see how it goes. I'm just hoping Zeus stays healthy because if he doesn't, then we're really in trouble, and we definitely got to go out and get somebody.
Yeah, that's the biggest fear. Before we head out, Dime, do us a favor, man. Put up the Locked On Clips latest episode up here so we can go ahead and give a read for that.
Locked On Clips, actually, latest episode is going to be released in like a couple hours. So it'll be out. It's on Media Day. Kawhi was super vocal. I've never heard him answer questions so thoroughly. Every answer he had was over a minute, so I got into that. And then Norman Powell said he wants to be an all-star this year. And I kind of talked about how I don't know if I like those comments because I just don't want, as much as I like Norman, I just don't want anybody prioritizing individual goals that may get in the way of the team. And I don't think he will, but, it's all about the team. We got to win a championship.
Yeah, I don't read too much. I saw that, and I there was a couple other people said I like that. Norman Powell's kind of like that type of dude. But when he's saying he wants to be an all-star, I think what he's doing is he's highlighting the role that I think he knows he's going to have as the 6th man off the bench. I think like he knows yeah, Arjax is going to be the secondary facilitator when John Wall, sits on the bench. But Norman Powell is going to have to be the 3-and-D two-way player off the bench to spell Kawhi Leonard and to spell PG. And I really think he's looking at that as more of a sixth man of the year. Hey, I'm producing and this deserves to be looked at a la Jamal Crawford, right? Like that impactful off the bench that they earn a all-star spot. I think that's more of what he's trying to do. What do you think?
Oh, my bad, Chris. I know you're talking to me.
Yeah. You're the one who brought it up.
Norman Powell coming off the bench?
Yeah.
I want him to come off the bench because I think he brings some great firepower. But I also, because I want 3 big wings in the starting lineup. I want Nico Batum, Kawhi, and Paul in the starting lineup so we can have that just switch with all 3 of those. I'm a big fan of the size and length because you saw that's how the Celtics made it so far. That was their formula, and I kind of want to do that. I don't mind Norman Powell starting, but again, I think he needs to just show that he can hold his own.
I don't think he starts. I think he comes off the bench, and I
like that idea better. I like that idea better. Him and John Wall running that second unit. That would be great. I mean, that's like a starting lineup, like Terrence Mann, John Wall, Norman, Robert Covington, and then throw in either Terrence or Kennard. Like, Jesus. Oh. And Ty actually had a really good idea that I didn't even think of. He said that he's going to try to take Zubats out kind of early in games. I'd figure like 8 or 7 minute mark. Go small already. Like throw Rocco in there soon and then run Zoo with the second unit, which would give John Wall and Zoo or Norman Powell and Zoo some nice high pick and rolls. And I think that'll be a great idea, honestly.
Well, I don't think John Wall stays on the bench too long.
Okay. I mean, he could easily break in the starting lineup. We'll see.
I like Jax. John Wall is better. That's in my opinion. I think maybe 2-3 weeks in, once we start seeing that John Wall can handle the physicality and the pace, I think we'll start seeing him more and more. At least in my opinion. I'm high on Wall this year. All right, so beyond that, what do you have for your last take, Dime?
My last take, subscribe to Dime Dropper, especially if you're also a Laker fan. Throughout the season, I talk about the Lakers as well on a game-to-game basis because I grew up watching them, so might as well just make content on them too if I'm going to watch the games anyway. And then, as I said, hopefully I'll continue my history content as much as I can. And also, I'm going to be doing season previews with content creators that are fans of their teams, local teams, just diehard fans. So stay tuned for that. I love talking to local fans about their teams because they're passionate about it. So I'm going to try to do some season previews and collab with some content creators from Twitter. So that I'm excited for that. So stay tuned. Subscribe to Dime Dropper. I'm trying to get to 5K. So if you really like basketball, show your boy some love. Also, when I go to games, I always take a video to share the experience with the fans. So, 5K. Trying to get to that goal this season at least.
Yeah, you're gonna get 5K, bro. Trust me. All right, Samir. Normally we close out, but since you have found us here on your first attempt, we'll go ahead and allow you a final word. Thank you for finding us all the way across the world over in India. Samir, your final thoughts today.
Chris, I just asked for what's your view about the Orlando Magic team's starting lineup, like Cole, Jalen Suggs, and Franz Wagner are at their best. So, what's your view?
Unfortunately for Orlando, I think their best starting lineup is not going to happen, as Markelle Fultz is injured again with a fractured toe. Still waiting on a timetable for his return. So he would be moved out of the starting point guard position. Cole Anthony will be put back in. Gary Harris is also injured for the Orlando Magic. He wasn't going to start, but he's an important two-way player who's going to come off the bench and play shooting guard or small forward. Jalen Suggs is probably the most important Orlando Magic player not named Paolo Banchero, and that was because he was injured and had a horrendous rookie season. He's actually shot the ball pretty good this offseason, talking to Mark and a couple other trainers. Franz, I believe, is going to be a mismatch nightmare, and the one thing, and in fact, it's the only thing I want to see Orlando work on, is a two-man game between Franz Wagner and Paulo Banchero. Paulo, I think, will be the odds-on favorite opening the year for Rookie of the Year. However, I've already said I think Keegan Murray has a better chance than most people give him credit for. And shout out to Wendell Carter Jr., earning a starting spot and keeping it and not being in the timeshare like a lot of people thought he would be. We'll talk more about the Orlando Magic and all of the other teams we skipped over on Monday. Friday, we're going to have just a fun show, just talking basketball as we open up the NBA preseason, 6 a.m., NBA Japan. The Golden State Warriors take on the Washington Wizards. All right. There you go, everybody. Go ahead, Samir.
Before that, they taking over BTS for fun. Before taking a Wizards, they are taking BTS for fun.
Yes. They kind of what they do. They go around. The NBA is really big in terms of creating a global and international market. So one of the things that they've done is do a couple of fan experiences. And if you haven't seen it, you can go on NBA.com and you usually can see some of the videos or at least some of the write-ups as they send some reporters over there with them as well. All right, I want to take the time to thank everybody who's come across the airwaves here on Hoop Spaces on your Wednesday, your hump day. And thank you for any minute or second that you spent here making part of us part of your day. Man, look, basketball's back Friday, 6 a.m. We'll see you Friday at 10. And I'm going to hit the music. Peace out, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. We will be back there.
You're welcome, Samir. I hope you have a good day. All right. This show brought to you by Slam Goods. You can head over to slamgoods.com and partake in saving money because, like, really, you really need to save money now. 15% off site-wide, promo code Hoop Spaces. So that means if you go check out the Slam Against the World hoodie and you like it, it's on sale for $49.99. You can use Hoop Spaces and save an additional $7.50. That's pretty dope. Make sure you check that out. Also, if you missed any part of the show, I'll be hitting the button that says process to get this up and running on YouTube. So check us out over there. Hit a subscribe button while you're at it. Tonight, we have the Rewind with Malika Walker talking and one. We have the Locker Room talking Joel Embiid. Good basketball talk. Yes, tonight. See you later. Peace out.